Okay, we are live. Actually, at the moment, we are unlisted because I want to check to make sure the audio is working. So give me a second. Let's do a quick test. And it's working. All right, we're going to go public in a second. Today, I'm going to be talking about the same things I've talked about previously, or yesterday, I should say, which is the trip I recently took to Chicago and Glenview and the visitation I did while there, specifically 24 hours, three Masonic lodges, three different Masonic venues, all within 24 hours, and just how much fun that was, and all using exclusively public transportation. So I want to talk about, the trip itself, where I visited, some of the highlights from those visits, and amongst that, or including within that, why I chose to engage with these, why I chose to have these three visitations, why I chose to do them all in one day, and also why I decided to use public transportation, what I hope other Masons can maybe take from that, the value of visitation specifically, and also how you can maybe try some similar things yourself. Experiment, try new things. It's important. It matters for a reason. We'll talk about why that is in just one second. But for now, let's wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let me know how you guys are doing. Hello, Dream Seeker. I'm doing well. Tommy Rowe. Hello. I hope you're doing well also. I hope you'll take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. God Eater, nice try. Hit the like and subscribe button. Let's be nicer on the stream. What's going on, Champion Wizard? I hope that you're doing well. Thank you for being here. So as people know, the first hour, I usually spend just hanging out and chatting with people, waiting to see who joins. And then the second hour, I talk about my specific topics. Today, again, it is my recent visit to Chicago, Glenview, the three Masonic lodges I visited in three separate venues, all by public transportation, all within 24 hours, and what I learned from it. Thank you, Tommy, for the sub. I greatly appreciate that. Yes, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Thank you, Tommy. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. And I truly appreciate you being here. Also, just so you guys know, I do have some exciting plans for the 21st. Usually the 21st of every month, I have a 24-hour live stream or some version of a 24-hour live stream. I do intend to do that again, although I plan to do maybe something a little bit different than normal this time and try another, unique initiative or promotion with the channel. I will let you guys know as soon as I know. Hello, Linking Atlas. Thank you for being here. And again, Champion Wizard, thank you for the subs. If you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, please let me know. We have some hearts in the crowd. I think that might be Smokey the Clown. If that is you, Smokey, welcome. Don't forget, Smokey the Clown, he's a friend of mine. He's a really cool podcast, a really cool live stream, really cool YouTube channel. Check him out. Give him some subs. Why do I don't think I have a Chinese accent. I have a Winnipeg accent from, growing up in Winnipeg. I guess a Canadian accent. ZC8F is going like this. I don't know what that symbol is. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's give it some time. Let's see who joins. I'm still recovering. It was a wonderful trip, but it was also an exhausting trip. So it's nice to take a little bit of a break. Correct. Thank you. I try to be an attractive fellow. Most people think I'm ugly. Please hit like and subscribe. I don't think he was Julia Robertson, but I could be mistaken. I could absolutely be mistaken. I would need to double check about that. Champion Wizard. So Freemasons are a civic or civil community group or organization. It has existed for over 300 years. It evolved from stonemason guilds in the Middle Ages. Um, I should, I should. I mean, my mileage would be pretty excessive, that's for sure. If I actually figured out how much mileage I travel. Um, uh, Champion Wizard. So it's not free to join. There is within Freemasonry what are called dues. Now, anybody who tells you, that you need to pay to join, that's not how it works. First, there's a process, there's applications, they get to know you. If at a certain point your application is accepted, then they will discuss with you the dues and the fees. It can be as little as $40 per year to as much as $200, $300 per year. It depends on the lodge itself, how busy the lodge is, and how much, how busy the lodge is, and how expensive it is. If it's let's say it's in a small town, dues might be less expensive. If it is in a big city where things are more expensive, the lodge dues may be more expensive. Um, I am not a 33rd. I'm 18th degree Scottish Rite. I'm also the highest degree in Freemasonry, the true highest degree, which is third degree. To anybody who may be struggling with anything, by the way, I want to mention this because I know this time of year can be tough. It's after the holidays. People are getting back into the swing. Call 988 if you ever need any support or help. If you're thinking of hurting yourself, I know some people who struggle this time of year. Wanted to mention that. I'm doing well, no filter, boss. So DAT, uh, first of all, you're saying a lot of stuff here. Freemasonry is not a religion. It's not tied to one particular religion. We have Jewish members, Christian members, Muslim, um, Hindu, Sikh, etc., etc. And second, Freemasonry is actually not talking about religion in lodge, to point that out as well. Spirit, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I've even heard of some people like having a late Christmas. Well, there's Orthodox Christmas stuff like that, but I know some people, they actually do their Christmas shopping on Boxing Day to take advantage of sales and save more money. Yes. Well, Robert Crook, we adopted that from the stonemasons. Stonemasons started with that because at that time you didn't have things like dues cards, electronic verification. You had to rely on things like passwords and grips and things like that. And Freemasons borrowed it. Most of what Freemasonry took from was stone masonry. A lot of people will point out that Freemasonry borrowed from, for example, uh, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Egyptian mythology, which is all true. But primarily, what it borrowed from overall was actually stone mason guilds in the Middle Ages. Um, yeah, Dad, you're not wrong. There's been a lot of travel, which I'm very lucky to be able to travel. As much as I do, and it's an important part of Freemasonry. Again, nobody has to travel to be active in Freemasonry, and it's not the most, nothing is the most important thing. Everybody kind of finds their own Masonic journey. But one of the reasons I chose to travel the way I did this week was to show that even if you're concerned about certain elements of travel, you can usually make it work. There's usually a way to make things work, to make it a success. Um, Maybe we do, maybe we don't, Julia. I never talk about what we would call the modes of recognition. For that, you got to join. I would say no, linking. I'm not a fan of the term spirituality within Freemasonry. It's a civic group and a civic organization. Now, some people may take spiritual, I don't know what the word is, spiritual, a type of spiritual benefit or growth from Freemasonry. Um, but some people may get that same spiritual growth from playing football, right? Freemasonry is not a spiritual organization. I would say it, again, it's meant to be within the realm of it's meant to exist within the realm of the civic or community organizations. Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, I loved them very much. Um, Would you mind checking my cartoon idea? I mean, if you want to send something to me by email, Dream Seeker, or even send it to me through Instagram, I will do my best to check it out. You should have my contact info. It is not a gang. And Eric, Freemasons are race traitor. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, Eric, race traitor is a baloney concept. There's one race, that's the human race, and that's the end of it. So there's no such thing as a race traitor, except a stupid way to think. We are not. We are also not filthy. Um, so I don't know, Eric. You seem to got a lot of anger in you. Might be worth thinking about where that's coming from. Um, oh, I'm sorry, Courtney. I mailed it. So everybody else has got it, to my knowledge. Um, so I think you're the one who has it. I emailed it. I mailed it on December 18th to the last address you sent me. Thank you, champion. I can I have to resend it, I think. I still have a couple copies left, so I'll see if I can't resend it to you. Um, I believe everybody else has got it thus far. Obviously, I'm not going to show your address on here. I'll send you a message to confirm I have the correct address, or maybe I'll send you something electronically so I know that you've got it. No, Land P Bible. So there's a couple things that are incorrect about your statement. By the way, Land P, please hit like and subscribe. Hello, Jamie Gate in Love from Carroll, England. So first of all, Freemasonry is not satanic at any level. Secondly, there is no quote unquote top within Freemasonry. That's not how it works. Freemasonry is decentralized. There is no single governing body that controls Freemasons, either at a global level or even in some ways at a national level. You have different grand lodges, which have different levels of jurisdiction. They are not answerable outside of the Grand Lodge. And in terms of the rankings or the degrees, a third degree Master Mason outranks a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason. Right, a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason has zero influence, power, control. I mean, he may have some influence, I suppose, depending on how well known he is. He has no influence, no power, no control. He has no power or control over what happens in a Blue Lodge, what happens to third degree Masons. You're destroying the environment. I mean, I try to be as environmentally friendly as I can. I think we as Masons have a responsibility to be, I don't know what the word is, to be respectful of the environment. I do my best. I don't always succeed, but I do always try. Yeah, well, that's the way to put it, right? There is no, a lot of people will say, I mean, when I say outrank, a third degree Mason can outrank a 33rd in the sense that, if, for example, if a 33rd degree Mason is visiting his lodge and the master is a third degree Mason, but he is the master, he has a higher office in the 33rd degree. And if he tells the 33rd degree, we're done with this topic, then so be it, right? It's hard to think about in terms of ranking, but the point is there is no single quote unquote top or global governing body within Freemasonry. Even within a jurisdiction, you have your Grand Lodge, then you have your Scottish Rite bodies, which are under different jurisdiction or different governance. Then you have the York Rite bodies, which are under different governance or jurisdiction. That's just kind of how it goes. Um, I do not worship. Well, then, Vi, don't have the chat up in arms. I do not worship Balder, the god of light. I do not know what you're referring to, Shal. What I'll say is Freemasonry is not a religion. We don't worship a particular religious deity. Please hit like and subscribe. I hope everybody is doing well. Well, Lou, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. I hope that you are doing well. Thank you again for being here. Um, and I hope everybody's having a great week. It is Friday. We are 9 days, in fact, into 2026, which is crazy to think it's 2026. Time absolutely flies. Thank you, ABC123, and Google Isn't God. Thank you for being here as well. I hope everybody is doing well. Like I said, my goal today is to talk about my trip, my recent trip. I just want to give it a few minutes to see who else jumps in the chat to say hello. Um, oh, we always got the religious stuff when Vi comes in and the religious debates. I did not sacrifice my legs, and I'm not a mystic, so you're 0 for 2. I don't worship any. I mean, I have my supreme being, but it's not, a god in the religious context. Well, I don't believe that you are Benjamin Netanyahu. So I'm just going to put you in a timeout for a second. Well, Lily, I definitely wouldn't say that. So, Lily, I definitely wouldn't say that. I choose as a Freemason not to be a reviler of anyone's religion or anyone's faith. However they come to it, whatever it is that they choose to believe, if it brings them peace and comfort and helps them understand this crazy world in which we live, then I would say more power to them. I'm not going to judge anybody. Um, and calling them grifters and stuff, I don't think is fair. So sorry, no, I would disagree with you on that one. Skirky, timeout is just when you stop people from having the ability to comment in the chat for a length of time. You can go from like a minute to, I forget the longest, I think 60 minutes is something to that effect. It's a way people start getting a little bit, they either start to overwhelm the chat or they start to get into fights with other people in the chat or they're saying things that I don't like. That's on my stream. I don't want to ban them because I don't think that's helpful, but I can put them in a chat and make them come back later once maybe they've cooled down a little bit. I fell all the time as a child because I always took risks because that's what life's all about. Chuck, please hit like and subscribe. I don't have a code name. My name is Cameron, Cameron Adamson. Well, faith is what evidence of things unseen is the quote. I mean, we all have to live our lives to a certain extent with a level of faith, Lily. Um, when I choose to leave my apartment, I am leaving with a certain level of faith that when I come back, the apartment's still going to be there. Nobody's going to break in and steal my stuff. I could be wrong. It could happen. But I do believe sometimes it is necessary to take a leap of faith. Joining Freemasonry is, to a certain extent, a leap of faith. You can never know for sure how much you're going to enjoy it, if you will enjoy it, until you've actually joined. I've never been to Thailand. I'd like to visit it very much. Please hit like and subscribe. Grizz, yes, I got a blockhead. Please hit like and subscribe. And no, we do not. Demand. I do not know who is demanding human sacrifices, but Freemasons are not sacrificing anything other than our time. Thank you, SMIB. I'm going to make sure to get you sent something shortly. Sorry you didn't get it yet. I don't know why maybe it's because it's in Texas. I believe everybody else has got one, so I'll double check my notes and see when I sent it to you. And maybe I can send you something by email, so at least I know you've got it, and then I'll try to remail. I don't know much about Abraham Shell. It depends, Champion Wizard. What do Freemasons do for fun together? I mean, it depends on the lodge and what they want to do. Some organize bowling nights, some organize pub crawls, some organize card games, murder mystery nights, some will organize camping trips. I mean, it really depends on the lodge and how active they want to be and how active they choose to be. Um, Arn Sebo. Uh, Once again, Freemasonry is not a religion, but if you are Christian, then more power to you. It's interesting. I gotta say, I'm not sure why this is, but my 1 a.m. streams are doing a lot better than my 1 p.m. streams. Clearly, my audience is like me, a bunch of night owls. But that's interesting. But still, it's wonderful to have everybody here so far. Yeah, I mean, Freemasonry, the purpose ultimately, there is no single purpose to Freemasonry, but one of the purposes is absolutely to enjoy one another's company, brotherly love, is to feel the human desire for belonging. Part of that is done through, amongst other things, gathering together and going on social events, clubs, whatever it might be. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I hope everybody is doing well. Let's give it a bit more time. Then we're going to start talking about the main point in today's stream, which is, again, my trip to Chicago, 3 lodges in 3 separate Masonic venues, all attended through public transportation. Well, we got a religious debate happening. I'm the worst person to engage in religious debates by far because I'm not a theologian. I'll let them go if they want. Anybody else, though, jump in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. If you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, again, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear it. I'm going to re-pin my comment. So it looks like it didn't get pinned. I don't know why. Let me try to pin this one more time. We're going to pin this. Okay, message pinned. Wayne Schultz. I mean, what I would say is there are a lot of, and this is me speaking personally, there are a lot of convincing arguments for God from a logical, philosophical standpoint. Not, evidence is a separate question, and as to what evidence you believe in or don't, I can't say. Again, I'm not religious myself. I believe in a supreme being, but I'm not going to be a reviler of anyone's religion. However it is you come across to your religious beliefs, whether it be Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, nothing but respect for you and to you. So well, archaeological evidence, I don't think you can use that as evidence necessarily of God. I think you can use it as evidence that, the Old Testament or the Bible had accurate historical data at some points. That doesn't prove everything about it, right? I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat, Wayne. I don't pretend to know the answers to those questions. Neither does Freemasonry, right? Within Freemasonry, like if somebody were to come to me as a Freemason and ask, why are we here or what happens after we die, I would say those are questions that are better brought up in a religious space. In a civil or civic space, it's more about not so much why we're here, but the fact that we are here and how we can best live our lives to make the world, our communities, and ourselves better. Well, I mean, burp, if you say, I don't care what you say, I'm convinced that Freemasons are trying to conquer the world to implement a new world order, right? If you are convinced and you don't care what I say, I'm not sure the value of you being here, because if what I say is irrelevant, then to you, what I say is going to be irrelevant, right? What I would say is keeping an open mind is usually valuable. I'd like to think, based on my 20 years of being a Freemason and based on my thousands of meetings around the world, I have at least a basic kind of understanding that I can share with you. But if you're not going to be convinced, period, then I suppose the one benefit to being here would be if you find me entertaining in some way. Well, Burp, I appreciate the fact that you care about my thoughts. That's very kind of you. And I'm still happy that you're here. Why did I create a rift between well, Freemasonry is not Scientology, if that's what you're saying. I'm not saying that Scientology did that, but I think that's what you're referring to. I'd love to have Tom Cruise as a Freemason. He might give us some, cool press, some cool advertisements, but that's a separate issue altogether. Freemasonry, what I will say is we within Freemasonry always encourage our Masonic brothers to put their family and their work and even their deity ahead of the lodge. So we're not trying to create rifts within anybody's family for whatever it's worth. Um, Wayne, I enjoy social discourse as well. I think, discourse, it's tough because it's always hard to know how much of your discourse is social. At what point does it become ill social? If that makes sense, or unsocial might be the better term. But trying to keep things social, I think, is very valuable. Michael Bradley, I appreciate you listening to me. Again, this first hour or so, I don't have any specific topics. I just answer questions in the chat. It's the second hour where I try to give, or after 1 hour, I try to talk about specific topics. In this case, my recent trip to Chicago, Glenview, and kind of what I learned from it. All right, well, Roy, let's just put you in timeout for a second. We don't need any of that. I don't ban people as a general rule, but that's not cool. Once again, we got the person with the name I don't like. I do not know anything with the USS Liberty, except I will say Freemasonry and the Navy has a really cool connection, really cool history. I mean, whatever Jewish, like I'm not a religious expert by any means, but I will say that I welcome Jewish people to Freemasonry as Muslims, as Christians, as Hindus, as Sikhs, whatever their religion is, that's not relevant to Freemasonry. And it's wonderful to have them all be part of Freemasonry. And it's wonderful to have them all be part of this brotherhood. There are so few places in the world, and it's unfortunate, but there are so few organizations in the world that occupy spaces in which men of different, and women for that matter, but men of different religions and faiths and backgrounds and politics and religions and creeds and languages and ages are all able to gather together. I think that's a really cool thing. So, Dream Seeker, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. By the way, Dream Seeker, don't forget, Coffee Club still exists. I'm going to be back there on Monday, first thing in the morning, if you ever want to come out. Well, I don't believe in one world ideology. I'm a fan of nations. I'm not opposed to globalism in theory, in that I've always been a supporter of trade amongst nations. I'm always a supporter of ability to travel amongst nations relatively easily. I think you should reduce the barriers to travel as much as possible while maintaining safety and whatever else you need to maintain. So I would say I'd be more on the globalism side than national sovereignty side, while also saying I will always love being a Canadian. I'm a Canadian first. I would not be comfortable with, let's say, a government agency that said, Canadians no longer exist. But I do believe in freedom of movement for goods and services and people as much as possible. I mean, I will be there from about 9 to 9:30, just to let you know. So you just need to text me so I can come get you. We are just hanging out another 30 minutes. Then I'm going to start talking about my trip. It was just the whole Abraham and Isaac thing. I'm not a religious scholar, so I don't know how much I should comment on it, but it does seem to me more a parable than literal. Yes, I want to go there. Courtney, I hope that you'll consider going there. I don't know how far you are from Waco. I never know how to pronounce it. Um, I've been to Texas a lot. I love Texas. I wish very much I could have um, I wish very much I could have visited the annual communication in Waco. I never did, but I have been to Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, and um, Gonzales, Texas, and they were all, and Dallas for that matter, all really cool spots. Texas is a great state. I messed with Texas and I loved it. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Okay, so do you plan to go, Courtney? Or is your lodge going to go? It might be really cool for you and your lodge to go together. Um, that could be really fun. So I don't consider Adam Copeland the architect, but I love Edge. I think Edge is awesome. He's a GOAT wrestler for sure, one of the greats. So yeah. Um, oh, Diego, you'll get there. Oh, Mikey throwing shade. I love Texas and I love Florida. I've been to both. Diego, everybody take a moment. I don't know what Diego talks about. This isn't a endorsement of his channel per se, but this is me telling you, click on click on Diego Marathoner and subscribe to his channel. Look, I will say I'm not going to pretend like doing live streaming is equivalent to um, rocket surgery or brain science, if you will. It's not. We're not out there saving the world, but being a streamer is actually more challenging than people sometimes think or sometimes give it credit for. And so it's one of those things where if you want to support a small streamer, you should. They're out here chasing their dream, whatever their dream is. For me, the dream is to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. So, um, and Michael, you're doing a great job learning, and thank you for being here. I do not believe in reptilians, KGS. I mean, I believe in reptiles, but I think by reptilians you mean humans or reptiles in human form, which no, I do not. Dad says it's pronounced Waco. All right. Okay, well, if you got to do your vehicle, that comes first, obviously. So if you can't go, you can't go. But maybe your lodge is organizing a trip there, and if you can hop a ride, might be kind of fun. Um, could be really fun. We're going to give it a bit more time. We're just going to wait to see who else joins. Please take a moment to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are here chatting about Freemasonry. So any thoughts you have, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. And another half an hour, we're going to start talking about my recent trip. 3 Masonic Lodge visits in one day. And I am also going to talk about, I do know some people right now for a variety of reasons, some Canadians and some around the world have expressed to me personally and also on social media either concerns about traveling to the States or um, or just the fact that they're not going to travel to the States. What I would say is, I'm going to give my opinions on that as well. I can understand why some people might be concerned, but I also will talk about at least my experiences and why I'm choosing to continue to travel to the United States. I have Masonic ancestry, guilty of being right, and that's all that matters. I am a Freemason, which is what's relevant to this channel. I'm also Canadian, so I don't think I could be an ICE agent. Um, I love the No Mason Left Behind program, Courtney. The No Mason Left Behind project is an absolutely wonderful project. It's one of the best by far. Nothing but respect to Texas Freemasons and specifically the Texas Masonic retirement community for its work and for its efforts in the No Mason Left Behind program. It's really impressive to see the work that they do. Um, I have no idea what that means. Dejantric, please hit like and subscribe. I am 2 subs away from 3,000 200 and I think 80 subs. Let me double check. Let me get the numbers here. Well, I mean, if people are, I'm 4 subs away from 3,280 subs. People, you could be in theory what's the word? A polytheist, believe in multiple gods and be a Freemason. I don't see why you couldn't. I've never met any myself everybody I've met who's a Freemason, their religious faith, to my knowledge, it tends to be either more spiritual or they believe in, one of the, for example, Abrahamic religions, or they may be indigenous, or they may be Hindu, Sikh. Actually, I did meet one Wiccan, or two, excuse me, Wiccan, Wiccan Freemasons. Now, I didn't really delve into their faith, so I don't know if Wiccans believe in, let's say, multiple, or are polytheists, or believe in a single being. I did not ask, but I'd be curious to know. Well, that's definitely not true. Name I don't like. That is definitely not true. There are many kinds of religion. Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, indigenous, spiritual. That's one of the things I love about Freemasonry. It provides religious tolerance and not the intolerant or illiberal views that I believe Auslander has. Well, I don't believe that. Now, Mark Twain was a Freemason, interestingly enough, but I do not believe in what he was saying there. I think that's incorrect. I'm from Canada, born and raised in Winnipeg, currently live in Windsor. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Well, no, I mean, the term pagan, I think there's a lot of judgment you're making there. So no, I do not believe that to be the case. Well, confirmation bias, I mean, there's a lot of that in Freemasonry as well. A lot of people I know who have negative views of Freemasonry, trying to debate them can be challenging, but that's okay. That is okay. Because if I'm choosing to do this, then I have to be willing to take the risks and take the challenges of debating people, even those who may themselves have confirmation bias. Well, yeah, I mean, so the fact that Mark Twain was a Freemason, now famously, for the record, and what's interesting is, Mark Twain famously got 1 degree, and I don't think he ever went back to lodge. But so maybe he decided, because there's, such religious deference provided in Freemasonry, maybe he decided that he, was not comfortable with joining. I don't know, but there are many people who are Freemasons who are not of the religious, they're not of a particular religious faith, right? Rather, it is they simply are spiritual. They don't believe in a religious faith, but they have a spiritual doctrine, or they believe in some type of supreme being. I do not know any of those people. Actually, I recognize the name Jordan Maxwell, but I can't think of from where. I don't know if he was a Mason or not. Memory Oracle, please hit like and subscribe. So I can't speak to those names. Well, I think the argument would be, if I'm not mistaken, the book was written by, again, I'm not a religious expert, but the book was written by the Supreme Being through them. If you are either Christian or Jewish, right? I believe is the idea. And it's true. A lot of the earliest books it's kind of like Homer and the Odyssey and the Iliad, right? To my knowledge, we don't actually know if the Iliad or the Odyssey was written by a single Greek named Homer, or multiple sources, or was in fact, oral history passed down generation to generation. In fact, we don't even know for sure if all of Shakespeare was written by Shakespeare. There's all sorts of, I'm not even calling conspiracy theories, but theories that Shakespeare was multiple people, or that multiple people added to Shakespeare's work after. And his stuff was 500 years ago. So if you're talking about, work 500 years ago, and we don't know if the author for sure, we have to be very careful when it comes to, let's say, the Bible, as to being sure as to um, who wrote it, right? Whether it be specific religious groups or individuals or anything else. So, well, no, Moses existed way, I mean, if he was a real figure, again, he could be mythological or theological, but Moses would have existed about 3,000 years before, um, something like that, before Freemasonry existed. Well, they may. I mean, I do understand there are some people now who, there's a type of religion, I guess, where they're Jewish, but they recognize the deity of Jesus. I don't know. I mean, again, people have different religious beliefs, and it's perfectly fine. Freemasonry, I know I repeat myself on this a lot. Freemasonry is not a religion, so you are welcome. You are welcome to have whatever faith or religion you have or beliefs you have. Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or anything in between, indigenous, you're welcome to be a Freemason. Um, I had a bunch, Courtney, and I talked about this, and actually I encouraged other people. My Masonic resolution is to travel more and to make a daily advancement in Masonic knowledge. But everybody, I think, should try to have a Masonic New Year's resolution. So I listed a bunch that I think people can have on a previous live stream, and also wrote about it on social media. Um, we're going to give this another. All right. Well, I think we're gonna have to, for both of you guys, put you in a bit of a timeout. It's not that I don't enjoy the debate back and forth, but getting a bit too religious debate, and this channel is about Freemasonry. So once I can find a chance to give a couple people a bit of a timeout here, just for a couple minutes. Um, all right. Those are great. Those are great Masonic resolutions. Learning more ritual and attending lodge. Those are very good resolutions. I wish you the best of luck in keeping them. It can be tough, but you've actually taken one very valid step by just mentioning them here. Because one of the studies that we've seen is um, people who mention their or tell people or announce their resolutions or their goals are more likely to keep them. So just by mentioning it on the stream, you are more likely to follow through. So good for you for announcing them, especially in a public place, especially on YouTube, which again is even more announcement than, say, announcing to friends. I'm interested in Jesus Christ. Actually being Julius Caesar, explains every Christians to lions. I mean, Robbie, that's an interesting rabbit hole. Please like and subscribe. As a student of Roman history, I always loved learning about Julius Caesar. I mean, don't forget, Julius Caesar was Julius Caesar, but afterwards, his successors were also called Caesar, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, whatever it might be. But I find that highly questionable, but anything's possible. Please hit like and subscribe. I'd very much appreciate it. And I hope that you are doing well. Um, Michael, thank you. I hope that, God blesses you as well. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. Brotherhood and service are also great resolutions. Don't forget, you can have those types of resolutions not just within Freemasonry, but within your life. Another 15 minutes, then I'm going to start talking about my trip and how much I enjoyed it, and maybe some lessons that can be taken from it. ABC, you want to become a Freemason? To be one, ask one. So you took the first step by asking me. You need to find a Masonic lodge within your area and speak with them. So you contact them, you communicate with them, you would ask them kind of what it is that they want to learn, and you go from there. Or sorry, you ask them anything you want to learn about Freemasonry, and they learn about you. And it's a process. But the first step is finding a local Masonic lodge within your area and contacting them and expressing your interest in joining. So I don't know where you live. Otherwise, I might be able to help you find the local Masonic lodge. But honestly, a Google search is usually sufficient. One thing to ask them, though, is just which Grand Lodge they are affiliated with. Is one of the things you need to do. My dad and both my grandfathers are both Freemasons. Well, I'm not trying to make anybody look bad, but maybe I am trying to put a little bit of motivation under you to get out there and visit. And again, the thing about visitation, right, is my 3 lodge visitations, like, yes, I went to a different city, but then all 3 of the lodges were within the same city. A lot of people think when I'm talking about travel and visitation, what I mean is, I expect you to travel from like Chicago to the Philippines to visit. No, visiting in your same city, just with 2 lodges that are, let's say, 20, 30 minutes apart, that's good enough. That's visitation. That's just as valuable and just as beneficial as traveling from Chicago to the Philippines, for example. Thank you, Tristan. Rent to Ghost. I hope you'll rent that subscribe and like button. Rent to Ghost, you can absolutely rent out that like and subscribe button and hit both. Family in does not make a difference, despite what some people say. I know many Masons who are the first of their families to join, and I know many Masons who had long family connections. That's not what Freemasonry is about. Like for me, even, I joined in Windsor. My dad lives in Winnipeg. So no one, when I joined, knew my family, and they still chose to join. They still let me in. I'm sure they regret it at this point, don't get me wrong, but, that's a whole separate can of tuna. So ABC, it's not about training per se. To become a Mason, there's really no training. Free all the Masons, yes. It's not training. There's an application process, which really the process is about you getting to know the lodge and the lodge getting to know you. At a certain point, you'll be given an application form to fill out, some sponsors, and then you join. To advance, there's usually some people use the term catechism. I don't like that because it has religious connotations. You have to be able to answer a series of questions usually and recite some things by memory. And then basically, if you want to become an officer or worshipful master, your responsibility in lodge is to focus on growth within the lodge. So what that means is, making sure that making sure that you know what the officer positions are, what the work is that you're expected to do, how to open, how to close, all that jazz is really important. So my plan is to do a 24-hour live stream on January 21st. I'm thinking I'm going to do a straight 24-hour live stream this time. I don't know for sure, but I'm going to be trying something different. I'm not going to talk about it yet because I'm still working out the details. But once I know for sure, I will for sure let you know what my what the unique thing will be for the 24-hour stream. So once I know, you will know. You're right, but unfortunately, not as much as before. I wish that I wish that it was the case that people were still visiting multiple lodges in one day. It doesn't happen near as much as it used to, but we'll talk about it. What is to what ends Hamilton St. Ives? To what are the ends of Freemasonry? By the way, please hit like and subscribe. Hello, Seth James. Welcome back. It's been a little while since I've seen you. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Why do Freemasonry or why visit 3 lodges in one day? I mean, the reason to do Freemasonry is the reason to do anything because you enjoy it and you like it. It's kind of like asking, why do you listen to music? Because I like the music I listen to. There's something about me that likes Freemasonry and responds to it. Not everybody has that same feeling, which is perfectly fine. You don't have to, right? But if you are somebody who enjoys it, that's why you do it. I think sometimes people get way over complicated with this stuff. At the end of the day, the reason to do something is because you enjoy it. And the reason that you enjoy something is as varied as the individuals who are Freemasons. So you need to keep that in mind. Freemasonry is not a creed. You could argue there's credential elements to Freemasonry, but I'm not a fan of that because there's even some people who say they have Masonic creeds. To me, creed sounds too religious in its kind of implications. But you could argue there are Masonic creeds, but there is no single Masonic creed, right? And every Freemason will interpret whatever Masonic rituals or ceremonies or creeds there are within his own personal viewpoint. Honestly, mystical, I mean, you're not completely wrong. What I've always said is, at its core, Freemasonry, Freemasonry is fulfilling the human desire to belong to something greater than oneself. And that is no different than joining a knitting club, a football team, or a gang. The difference then becomes, you study and you examine what are the ends that are being achieved through this desire. If they are criminal ends, as in the case of a gang, then it's not good to join. If they are positive ends, as in the case of Freemasonry, then it is good to join. I'm an only child, Hamilton, but I grew up, I know many Masons who had multiple siblings. I knew many Masons who have a couple siblings. There's many ways one can get brotherhood. Freemasonry is one of them. It's not the exclusive way by any means. It's a civic organization. Civic organization, Seth James, is what it is. It is a civic organization. You're welcome to Hamilton St. Ives. And if you enjoy Kiwanis, and if it gives you a sense of not just brotherhood, but if it's something you enjoy, then stick with it. Of course you should. The purpose of this channel is not to convince anyone to join Freemasonry. Rather, it's just to talk about the fact that I love it and why I enjoy it and my experiences within. And then I leave it up to everybody else to kind of decide for themselves. Kiwanis, it's a civic and community group as well. I don't actually know what they do. I think they're an environmental group or an environmental organization, right? I think, if I recall, the Kiwanis, but I could be mistaken. I've heard of them in the past. I just can't think of from where. I'm part of Scottish Rite. I've sat on different boards. I'm not part of I'm not part of this channel is not officially part of Freemasonry, but I do consider it to be Freemasonry. Well, let's not talk about that, fromage. Just hit the like and subscribe button. I consider this channel in a sense to be part of Freemasonry as well, or my contributions to Freemasonry. All right. Well, I don't know some of these terms. I have suspicions. So let's put some people in some timeouts here for a little bit. We're going to give it a bit more time. We're going to wait to see who else joins. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I hope everybody is doing well. Thank you, Mystical. It is growing for sure. Yeah, it's doing great. It had a great growth at the end of 2025, and it's growing well in 2026 also. So we're going to give this another couple minutes. Thank you, ABC. And then I'm going to talk again about my recent trip to Chicago, Glenview, 3 lodges in one day, using public transportation, why I did it, what I gathered from it, and how much I enjoyed it. Well, the King James Version came out, Lily, when King James was the king. I don't know when it is. I forget the dates. Sure, Seth. I don't see why not. I mean, Freemasons, we don't have no beef with nobody. You could be a Kiwanis and a Freemason. I've even known, despite what people say, I've even known a few Knights of Columbus and Freemasons. And there's absolutely no concern with that either. So 1611? Okay. See, I wasn't sure the exact date of when it was, when it was printed, but very cool. Well, honestly, most what they call Masonic Bibles are actually simply the King James version of the Bible. Just, it's a King James version of the Bible that just happens to have a square and compass on the cover, and has a space in the front for brethren to sign, and sometimes has definitions of things as understood in like a quote unquote Masonic context. Okay, I think we can get started now. So, visitation. So, as most of you know, on January 7th, I visited 3 Masonic lodges in 3 different Masonic venues or Masonic buildings, all in one day and all exclusively using public transit. The trip really started the day before on January 6th when I went to the Detroit Masonic Temple and visited Union Lodge at the Detroit Masonic Temple. I took public transit to get there. I took the Link bus to get across the border, and then the Q Line bus or Q Line train system in downtown Detroit to go to Temple Street and to go to the Detroit Masonic Temple. Loved Union Lodge, loved Detroit, loved the Detroit Masonic Temple. It is absolutely a beautiful temple and a beautiful it's just the history of Freemasonry in Detroit is incredible and it's worth exploring. But then I took an all-night bus, arrived in Chicago like 5:30 in the morning, and decided I was going to visit 3 Masonic lodges in 3 different Masonic venues. Again, traveling exclusively public transit. I posted about these visits and this trip using 2 hashtags on social media. Hashtag just visited, where I listed the Masonic lodges and the venues that I visited. And then hashtag now taking to talk about the public transport I used to get to each of the venues and visit each of the lodges. So the 3 lodges I visited: St. Cecilia Lodge, number 0865, It was a stated communication at Montclair Masonic Temple, then Kelvin Park Willing Lodge, Chicago, Illinois, Jefferson Park Masonic Temple, and then Glenview United Lodge, Glenview Masonic Temple. And I took the Metra Milwaukee, To get there, I took the Metra Milwaukee District North, Glenview to Chicago, the PACE bus system, and the Chicago Transit Authority buses. Overall, it cost me about $8 in bus fare, give or take, and Metra fare, $8 to travel to these different locations. Actually, probably less than that, probably $7. So, why did I do this? Why did I post about it? Why did I talk about it? And just a reminder, when I'm doing special events like this, trying different things, following me on social media is a really valuable way to keep up with what I'm doing, and turning on your notification bell here also. I think a lot of brothers get very intimidated by the idea of visitation and travel for a couple different reasons. If you're a newer Freemason, then you may get intimidated with travel because, going to a new place, that's just your lodge, Mystical. We don't have that here. Going to a new place, meeting new brethren, if you're new to Freemasonry and you're a little bit nervous about it, that can be intimidating. At least because if you're in your mother lodge, then you know all the brothers at least a little bit. You know they voted you in, so you're not that scared about screwing up and messing something up, and you don't know the brothers. You don't necessarily know the rules and regulations around visitation, which you should talk to your secretary about. So I think for newer brethren, there can just be the nervousness of being a new Mason and visiting a lodge and being worried you're going to kind of mess something up and look like a fool. But I look like a fool every day, and I'm still here. Then I think some get nervous about visitation or travel because they're concerned about the cost of doing so. Now, again, even the cost of gas to get from building to building, if it is that you are visiting a lodge within your city, within your town, it might not be that expensive. But let's say you're traveling somewhere new, let's say for work, and you find out that there's a Masonic lodge that you can visit in that city. Is it too expensive to take an Uber? Is it too expensive to take a taxi? You're worried about the cost associated with the travel. You may have medical conditions, disabilities. I'm in a wheelchair, and that may make you nervous about visitation as well. Then you may have, for example, family or work commitments. I can't speak to the latter two, but I will say what my hope is visiting 3 Masonic lodges, all in different locations, all in the same day, and all using public transit. I wanted to emphasize that it is possible to do multiple visits in a safe and cost-effective manner using public transit. So if you don't have a car, that shouldn't stop you from doing visitation. Again, especially in larger cities with their own transit systems. Again, I was able to do 3 in one day. So just because you don't have a car, that's no excuse to not travel and to not visit. Public transit very often, is easy to use. Now you need to plan ahead a little bit, check the schedules, use the apps on your phone. Most transit systems nowadays have apps. But it's absolutely possible to travel and visit, even if you don't have a car, even if you're concerned about the cost. Again, $8 to visit 3 Masonic lodges using public transit. If you decide to do a visitation to just one Masonic lodge, it would have cost $2, maybe $3. So I showed it's cost effective, and you can do so even if you don't have a car. And it's possible to learn the transit system well enough to get around to the different Masonic buildings. I'm missing both of my legs. I do know some Masons get nervous about traveling if they're disabled, if they have a disability. Again, as somebody who is in a wheelchair. All of the transit that I took was accessible. Now, in one case, one of the buses that I was taking was actually the fast bus to get back to Windsor from Detroit. Its front door wasn't working, so it couldn't let me in. But there's another bus that came 20 minutes later, and I got on that one. So I'm not saying every bus will 100% be accessible because buses break, things malfunction, but there's always another bus coming down the line. So I hope that I demonstrated also it's absolutely possible to visit and to travel without a car and with a disability. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to all of the transit services that made it possible for me to travel. I've said it before, as a Mason, it's very important that I travel, but also that I show respect to the people that make it possible for me to travel, especially as I'm missing my legs and especially as I don't have a car. So every bus and transit service, every bus driver, metro driver, all the people who maintain the buses as well, you make it possible for me to travel. I'm greatly appreciative of it, and thank you so much for that. And they were all great. In fact, one of the bus drivers was kind enough to stop a little bit early, a little bit ahead of where the official stop was, to let me off closer to the Masonic Temple I was visiting at Glenview Masonic Lodge. So, I mean, nothing but respect for that, and a huge thank you to him for that. Meant I got to spend more time with my brothers. Well, don't more call a doctor if you're passing out, or call somebody to help you. Thank you, Courtney. Um, I also want to mention visiting the Saint Cecilia Lodge. That was the first lodge I visited. That was well, definitely call the doctor, Mork, or call 911, or call what you need to call. It was, especially with a head injury, you don't want to mess around with those. Saint Cecilia is a daylight lodge. They met at noon standard time. As somebody who is a worshipful master of a daylight lodge, it was really, really cool and really awesome to see a daylight lodge in another town that actually had a decent attendance. Daylight lodges, I mean, Freemasonry as a whole is really struggling right now, but daylight lodges are also struggling quite a bit. So that was really wonderful to get to visit them and hang out with them. It was really special to go to 3 different Masonic lodges, none of which are in my hometown, and everybody knew me and recognized me. And that's the other thing of visitation. If you're a newer Mason and you're nervous about visiting or traveling, just keep in mind, like, there's one way to get over that fear, and that's to do it. I mean, if I had been nervous the first time I visited Glenview Lodge, I would not have the confidence to now just walk into the building or wheel into the building and know that I'm going to be welcomed, know that the brethren will know me and, greet me and vouch for me. But you don't get to that space if you're too nervous to make the first approach and to just visit. It honestly is no different than being at a bar and talking to a girl. If you're nervous and you never do it, you're never going to do it. You need to just get over yourself at some point and get to know the guys and go visit. And they'll get to know you as well, and they'll invite you in. So it was absolutely an incredible experience. Thank you, Christ Enlightenment, for your kind statements. I hope you'll share this stream with others. Hit that like and subscribe button. Most texts are not. And I think the last thing I want to say about this stream, about this idea of 3 different visits, 3 different venues one day, I'm not suggesting that everybody has to do it the way I did it, or everybody can do it the way I did it. You might be in a small town, let's say, and as a consequence of that, maybe your lodge is maybe your Masonic lodge is, I don't know what the word is. Like maybe you're in a small town and there is no transit in your small town. That doesn't mean you can't do, anything else. You can organize a carpool. You can Maybe even talk to your city about getting public transit, or organize a carpool if you're Masonic brothers, or invite some lodges to your town. You can't get to them. Maybe they're like one town over. Invite them. Say, can you come and visit us here? We'd love to have you. More, I want to show not that there's a single way to do things, but there's always a way to do things. If you don't have a car, check out public transit. If there's no public transit, see if another brother has a car and you can carpool. If nobody can do that, can you invite a lodge to come visit you? Right? I think what you need to do is recognize there's always ways. If you're disabled, maybe your public transit options have disability services. You know, if you're concerned about the cost, what are the fares to use public transit? And in fact, many times, if you are a senior citizen, elderly, or disabled, there's actually reduced fares that you're allowed to have. So I think you need to keep that in mind as well, right? That there are different fares and different fare options. And yeah, I hope that if nothing else, maybe this encourages brethren to just think about the possibilities of travel. I will say another little highlight of the trip. So the morning I arrived in Chicago, I actually did take the Metro at Milwaukee District North to Glenview, Illinois. At the start, I stopped off at one of my favorite coffee spots, the Glenview Grind, and I posted something just saying, I'm going to do three Masonic lodges in three venues in one day using exclusively public transit. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to definitely need some coffee from the Glenview Grind, one of their healing lattes. I posted that, I tagged the Glenview Grind, and the Glenview Grind was kind enough to repost it and share it. I thought that was really cool just because I love that coffee spot. So getting a repost from one of my favorite coffee spots in one of my favorite cities, maybe my favorite cities of all time, was really, really cool. Courtney, I did not know that. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing. That's very kind of you. Well, Gooey, I will put you in a timeout if I want to. It's my stream, it's my rules. Um, Whether you appreciate it or not, if I choose to put you in a timeout, then so be it. That is what's going to happen, right? If I recall correctly, you were streamed because you were saying some stuff about Asian people, which I did not appreciate. So, my stream, my rules. And also, don't call me pastor because I'm not a pastor. Um, no, no, mystical. It's okay. I appreciate it, but it's okay. Well, you don't need to, we do not need to keep our distance from anybody. That's the point of any particular, you don't keep your distance based on one's race, whether they're Asian or anything else. That's not a reason to keep one's distance from somebody. Um, Here's what I would say about that, Lily, and this is something I want to talk about as well. That's really cool, Courtney. Thank you for sharing. Look, I absolutely understand that there are, as some Masons have told me this personally, um, some people have shared this on social media, including Freemasons that I know. Um, some people have told me or post on social media, especially Canadians or people from other countries, that they are not comfortable right now traveling to the States due to the political situation and the political climate in the States. And I, by the way, absolutely get and understand that. I'm not going to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do. If you are nervous about traveling to the States for whatever reason, that's completely within your right. I hope that any money that you would spend traveling to the States, perhaps you would spend within Canada and visit a Masonic lodge therein. But even with the situation in Minneapolis and the ICE situation, even with me personally not being a big fan of Donald Trump at all, I've chosen to continue traveling to the United States, and I plan to continue to do so for a couple of reasons. Thank you, Gooey, and no worries, no need to apologize. I appreciate you being here. There's a couple different reasons. The first is I don't think you can ever I don't think you should ever conflate or equate the people of a country with the political situation of a country, even if it's a democracy. Um, I know a ton of Americans who have the same views as me about the current establishment and the current government, who are very concerned, a ton of Masons who have the same ideas as me. I know a ton who have different views. The point is, whether you're a Mason in Canada or a Mason in the States, you're still my brother. I still love you. I've spent a lot of time developing these relationships around the world, including in the United States. I don't think it would be right for me to now limit them or step away from them because of the political situation. I also don't believe it helps change the political situation. In fact, and Freemasons, I'm not saying we should be concerned with that, but if you're a Freemason and you believe that not visiting will change anything, I believe you're incorrect. The example I've often used on this, the during World War II or before World War II, the United Grand Lodge of England actually stopped recognizing Masons in Germany as regular due to the Third Reich, due to Nazis. Um, it did not actually make any difference. All that ended up happening is German Freemasons ended up being placed in concentration camps by the Nazis. So it's not as though it actually made anyone, including any Masons, safer. And so I want to keep on going to the States to support my Masonic brothers there and to let them know, right, I still support Freemasonry, whether it be in America, Canada, Russia, or anywhere else in the world. It's the brotherhood I appreciate and love, not the, not the government therein. And for me personally, what I'll say is, again, this is me and this is my experience. This is not reflective of, by any means, the everybody's experience. The customs agents, all of the customs agents, the public transit officers, the workers, never had any issues crossing, never had any issues with anybody in the States. I still love to travel there. That also goes for Detroit and Chicago. A lot of times they have a reputation for being dangerous. Never felt in danger, never felt scared. I consider those two places kind of part of my Masonic home. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, look, I'm not going to any Mason, or anyone really, but any Mason who is choosing not to travel to the States right now, I completely understand. No concern, and that's perfectly fine. But I think for myself personally, I'm going to continue to travel to the States because I want to continue supporting and showing my brethren that I care about them and I don't judge them based on the political situation in the States at the moment. So, and I think ultimately, look, the current situation truly is made of sand. Like, it's not going to last forever. The current president is not going to be there forever. The current administration is not going to be there forever. And when they're no longer present, if I am not, if we have lost the relationships between, American and Canadian Freemasons, or between any country, right? It's that much harder to get them back. And If there is any way out of the current political climate, what we need to do, truly, I believe, is focus on building civic institutions, civic engagement, community institutions that are reflective of universal tolerance and universal values. We can't do that if we stop meeting brethren from different countries. So there you go. That's my little soapbox for the moment. But thank you to, let me just get the names again one more time. Thank you to St. Cecilia Lodge, which meets out of the Montclair Masonic Temple. Kelvin Park Willing Lodge, which meets out of the Jefferson Park Masonic Temple, and Glenview United Lodge, which meets out of the Glenview United Temple. And thank you to the Metra system, particularly the Milwaukee District North Line, the Chicago Pace bus system, specifically the 270 and the 272, and the Chicago Transit Authority bus, specifically the 453. Thank you to Chicago and Glenview for making the trip possible. Also, I should mention, again, Union Lodge the day before on January 6th, and then on January 8th, I visited Kingsville Masonic Lodge as well. So thank you to everybody who made that possible. It was truly, truly appreciated. Well, Mystical, I'm not going to get into that. I'll let everybody decide for themselves how they want to view what happened in Minneapolis and Minnesota. Everybody gets their own opinion on that. I have mine. I'm not going to share that here right now. What I'm going to say is what happened one way or another does not change my desire to visit my Masonic brethren in the States. And I guess what I'm saying there is not visiting the United States, for me personally, that's not going to stop them from potentially starting World War III. If anything, what I think will stop World War III, if that's a potential, is greater, stronger civic community engagement. And that includes civic communities across the border, where for a moment you are looking at yourself not as an American or a Canadian, but as a Freemason. So Lily, yes, Dad, go there. Thank you for being here. I love you. Thank you. So even if they are, Lily, again, not every citizen voted that way. And I think, again, whatever, when I'm in lodge, it's not the politics that matters. All right. It's not I'm in lodge with a Republican, with a Democrat, with a Canadian, with an American, with someone on the left, with someone on the right. What matters, honestly, is that I'm in lodge with a Freemason. And if we can start to look beyond the narrow limits of I'm a this, I'm a that, and just look at each other as brothers, I think that is incredibly important and can be helpful. So we do not want to start World War III. I can assure you I do not want to start World War III, nor should, I don't know if Trump is civic, but Trump's not my concern. I am my concern and how civic I am. That is a myth, or that is a myth. Yeah, Freemasons are not looking to start any wars. First of all, we are not a global agency, but it's different. It's decentralized. So even if we wanted to, there would be no mechanism for which to do so. Please, if you're just joining, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I truly appreciate everybody being here, and I hope that you enjoyed my little spiel on travel. We're going to give it a bit of time. We're going to wait to see who else joins. As always, take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And thank you all for being here. We do not want to do that either. There is no they within Freemasonry. Freemasons are decentralized. There is no single governing body or single governing group within it. You need to keep that in mind. I did, I believe. Yes, I think I know the one you're speaking of. So yeah, I did. It was an incredibly important reminder of this thing we call Freemasonry and how important it is. We do not have nukes. That is true. Which I'm very happy about. If Freemasons were hiding nuclear weapons, I don't know if I want to be a member of it. I'd be quite concerned. We don't have weapons at all. I mean, individual Masons may, depending on where they are and what the rules are and the laws are, they may own firearms, but that's not, we don't own weapons in you know, an organizational sense. We have, ceremonial swords as part of kind of costumes, if you want to put it that way, which are, or offices. Usually they're very, very dull. Um, well, Freemasons, again, because you're also part of your country. So if you're a Freemason and there's a war, you may be drafted or called upon to fight for your country, or you may choose to do so, right? So in many different battles, in many different wars, you will see Freemasons on both sides. Famously, in the American Civil War, there was a lot of that. So, but even going back to the Revolutionary War in the States, I always point this out. Both George Washington and King George were both Freemasons. Not on this stream, but maybe I'll share it during my 24-hour live stream if I can find it. Because I know the one to which you're referring. So that is not the case, Mark. But you always say that. You are incorrect. Yeah, I know. I don't think I'm drinking enough water. I got to get to work on this. I'm clearly not drinking enough water. It's just because I'm always so busy. I mean, I was trying for a while to drink more water. That's something I was really proud of, but um I've been failing. So here, I got some water here. Well, then your man Kool-Aid, you would be incredibly, incredibly disappointed. Being a Freemason does not give you the ability to skirt local regulations or taxes, nor should it. If you're joining Freemasonry with the idea that you can get away with illegal stuff, you are going to be very, very disappointed. You have I hope it's not your disciplinary meeting tomorrow, Minotaur. Um, if it is, I hope it goes well for you, and I wish you the best of luck. I mean, sometimes these things happen. Part of, if you genuinely believe in what you're doing, though, part of what that means is you may find yourself sometimes on the wrong end of things. And I mean, look at Steve Jobs, right? He got fired from Apple. But he kept working, he kept trying his best, and now he's here. And then he made the iPhone, yeah. Well, I've heard conspiracy theories about that. Look, if that does happen, it shouldn't. Um, I'm sure there have been times, and that's not just with Freemasonry, where it's like two people are part of the same group. It could be a football team, it could be a Oddfellows, and one's a judge, one's a defendant, one's a police officer, and they choose to help him out in that moment. I'm sure that stuff has happened. I was told this story before. A friend of mine from years ago, I haven't seen him forever. He grew up in a small town. We worked together, but he grew up in a small town, and he was telling me that in this small town, everybody knew everybody else. He was friends with a police officer, and on a few occasions, he would go to the bar, have too much to drink, and he would drive home intoxicated. And his friend, who was a police officer, wouldn't pull him over, would just follow behind him and make sure he got home safe without hurting anybody. But neither one of them were Freemasons. To my knowledge, my friend never became a Freemason. I haven't talked to him in years. The point being, look, people who know each other may be willing to look the other way. They shouldn't. That's a conflict of interest. That's why I'm not as opposed to Met as others and the Metropolitan's police decision. But I've never seen any examples of Masons who are, let's say, police officers giving another Mason a break. In fact, usually the opposite, not the opposite, but usually, or it's they're all just treated the same. And I guess again, if you're joining Freemasonry to get out of things or to get away with things, you're joining for the wrong reasons, and you're going to be disappointed. Um, Lily, I look. I don't always. I'm the chairman. All right, Minotaur. Well, it's it's a crummy situation when these things happen, but they do happen. And I just wish you the best of luck in finding the appropriate solution to deal with it. I'm not going to pretend like it's an easy situation. It's not. What I would say though, me personally, is sometimes, I mean, I don't know any of the circumstances, so it's very hard for me to speak on it. I guess what I'll say is sometimes, especially if you have an organization that is struggling like Freemasonry is, sometimes you got to be willing to push the envelope and push the boundaries a bit, because we are getting very close to, the numbers keep dropping. And if people aren't willing to push a little bit to go different directions, even if it means stepping on some toes. I just read a report that said Freemasonry, in North America may cease to exist by 2040. So we need to be willing to try some new stuff and maybe step on some toes. That's not a defense of, any brother in particular, because I have no idea what's happening or what's going to happen. No, but I would miss us. Look, Lily, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a fan of humans. I have actually very often kind of look at people and am very disappointed in humans and humanity. But having said that, I also have no interest of either existing in a world by myself. It might be fun for a day to wake up and there's no people and I can do whatever I want. For 1 or 2 days, that might be kind of fun, I guess. But I think very quickly, I would not want that. Nor do I want people to stop existing altogether, because I'm people and I would cease to exist, right? Human beings, for all of the terrible parts of being a human, and there's a lot of them, believe me, we can also do some pretty great things at the same time. Well, yeah, that's a very ugly situation. That's not an example of pushing the envelope to advance Freemasonry. That's an example of just being a bad person and a bad Mason. Now, Freemasons are human beings, again. So we fall down, we mess up, we screw up. We don't always act as we should Masonically or as we should as human beings. I would hope that an apology, maybe, if the brother apologizes to the other, some type of willingness to work together could solve this problem, but I don't know. Unfortunately, though, human beings are human beings, and Masons are human beings, which means we have all of the best attributes of what it is to be a human and all of the worst attributes of what it is to be human. I do believe truly that if you're a Freemason and you follow the Masonic, the teachings that Freemasonry illuminates, you will be a good person, but there's no guarantees. There's just no guarantee. You just do your best. I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump, but that's me personally. I don't speak for Freemasons. And again, that's not going to stop me from visiting the United States. Well, redder than you, I'm going to put you in a timeout. I know many Islamic brethren. I love them. They're part of my family. Islam is not a cancer either on the earth or in any other sense. I still hope redder than you'll hit the like and subscribe button. Greetings, Spirit. Thank you for being here. I think I saw you above somewhere. We try to get along. We don't always succeed, but that's okay. Hopefully they can reconcile. I agree with that, Minotaur. I mean, look, I've had some moments where I've had a few brothers where I thought I was going to come to physical blows with them. We got into fights. But we're brothers, so we fight and then we work it out, and then we go back into lodge and we sit. We don't have to like each other, but we have to respect each other enough for the work of the lodge. Um, and so, hopefully cooler heads prevail. Um, I think that is the most important thing, is that cooler heads prevail, and I wish you best of luck. I know it's tough. So yeah, I'm sure that you will come to the right decisions. So I don't know like what these terms mean. I don't know what the slurs are. What I would say though is I try to be respectful of everybody's religious faith, and that includes not using any type of slurs or any type of ethnic or religious based slurs. If I know of one, so now I know that word, I won't use it. I've never heard of it. I've never used it, but I wouldn't know if I heard it on the street. I wouldn't know to what it means. So now I know. Changing. Oh, which body? If you don't mind my asking. Well, Lely's not wrong. I mean, even when there was just two, the Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, there's some evidence that there was clashes between the two. Um, I am an adult, and I'm not playing with nonsense. I'm talking about Freemasonry. Um, by all means, Spirit. For some reason, my email's been a pain in the butt, but try to email me and also contact me through Instagram if you can. All right, John, you're getting kind of weird over here. I'm gonna just put you in timeout for a second. Um, but yeah, shoot me off an email as well, because I'm trying to figure out how to fix my email system right now. It's being a pain in the butt. Sometimes email is a pain in the butt. I hope everybody though is doing well. I'm gonna be ending this stream shortly. I am debating having a 1 a.m. stream tonight. For whatever reason, my 1 a.m. streams are doing a lot better than my 1 p.m. streams. Clearly, some people enjoy 1 a.m. Must be like me, night owls. But we shall see. I'm going to be posting a lot more stuff on social media. Follow me on all those sites as well. It's very, very important. If you want to see my channel grow, like, subscribe, super chat, and also follow me on my other channels. That's incredibly important as well. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes, see if anyone else jumps in the chat to say hello. Then we'll be ending this stream. We'll be back on tomorrow. Again, just want to say thank you to the lodges and the venues that welcomed me over the last couple of days, specifically the 3 lodges and 3 venues that welcomed me on Wednesday, but also there was a lodge before and a lodge after. There was Union Lodge in Detroit, and there was St. George's Lodge in Kingsville. So thank you for that. Thank you to all of the public transit services that made the visitation possible: Pace, Metra, and CTA, as well as Fast Bus in Chicago, and for that matter, I should mention the Amtrak and the Flixbus. And I hope that my travel and my visitation will be a reminder that you can do so as well. Don't think you can't travel. You absolutely can. And don't be afraid to try to travel. Try to visit. Like I said, if you're nervous about it, the best way to get over the nerves is to just do it. Honestly, if I had been afraid or too nervous to travel to, let's say, Glenview when I did, I would have, I would not have the luck to have the incredible memories I do have this home that I have. So just keep that in mind. Well, there was what? There was Australopithecus, there was Neanderthal, there was I don't know about Denovians. I used to know the names. I don't right now, but I used to know the names of the different species. Um, I cannot think of them though at the moment. Just hanging out, waiting for a couple more minutes. Just want to see if anybody else jumps in the chat to say hello. If not, we'll be ending this stream shortly. Lily, are you interested in human, like ancient history, like the evolution? Because I do have some things I've written about that. If you're interested. Just going to give it a few more minutes, see who else joins, jumps in the chat to say hello. And thank you, everybody who has joined so far. I hope everybody is doing well. And again, thank you to everybody who took the time to check out this stream. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. We'll give it another, like I said, another 5-10 minutes. I just want to see if anybody else wants to jump on at the last minute to say hello. I may be back on at 1 a.m. I may have some exciting announcements as well, so. I'm gonna just wait to see. Not getting anybody else jumping on. I'm not sure if I'm missing some messages or if we just don't have people messaging at the moment. Give it another 5 minutes. And I'll be back. I think I'm going to come back on at 1 a.m. tonight. So 1 a.m. Eastern. Whenever I give a time, keep in mind it's always Eastern Standard. Well, they didn't get rid of stonemasonry, your man Kool-Aid. It's more that they took, so there still are stonemasons that still exist, right? And stonemasons work on stone that, are stonemasons. Freemasonry was a civic organization that evolved out of stonemasonry. A way to think about it, this is a very general way to think about it, your man Kool-Aid, so I hope it makes sense. Let's imagine that you're at the bar hanging out and you see a group of, we'll say men, but a group of people over in the corner. And they're all hanging out and they're enjoying each other's company and they seem like a cool group of people. So you go up and you talk to them and you find out that they are all a bunch of stonemasons and they just hang out together after work and they, it's like an informal get together club that they have after work. And you ask, you can join, you sit with them. Now you've joined them. And let's say every day more and more people join this group until eventually you still have the same group of stonemasons present, but you also have all these other people who start to hang out with them for the camaraderie and the support and the social network, not because they want to be stonemasons. Eventually, they may start their own separate group called the Freemasons, which is focused on the social aspect of it. So it's, when the first speculative Masons were coming into Freemasons lodges or stonemason lodges, or stonemason guilds would be the proper term, they were doing so not out of a desire to learn how to work with stone, but for the fellowship and the enjoyment of it. I do wish, though, that we in Freemasonry took the time to learn more about stonemasonry and stonemasons, but, it's metaphorical. I am about Freemasonry, CZN. Well, I think I'm handsome. You may disagree, but I hope you will consider hitting the like and subscribe button, if nothing else. And I'm still going to say thank you for being here, despite the fact you could be nicer to me. There's no reason to say I look like a nutsack. I think I look very handsome. At least that's what my mom would tell me. Well, fair enough, but I appreciate you being here nonetheless. Well, I mean, in fairness, I have no legs, so I roll with everything. I'm in a wheelchair, but you're welcome. I mean, being on YouTube, if you're going to be on YouTube, then you have to accept the fact that people are going to be on here and talking stuff about you. You just kind of have to learn to accept it. It's part of the cost of being on YouTube. Well, no, it's separate, your man, because the stonemasons were still the stonemasons. I mean, if I go to a shop of stonemasons, like they build houses and things, and they're tradesmen, I can't get a job there because I'm a Freemason. They're separate organizations. Like hanging out with stonemasons, hanging out in a social setting with non-stonemasons after work doesn't water down their skills. That's a weird way to look at it. It's just separate organizations for separate purposes. Sometimes the organization is about civic engagement. Sometimes it's about, like it's different things, right? Being a stonemason is a profession, it's a job. Being a Freemason is a social club or social group. Now, a stonemason can be a Freemason, but he's not relying on his Freemasonry skills when it comes to building a house, right? It's very weird. I don't think you understand, your man. It's not like again, if you see a bunch of stonemasons hanging out at the bar and you choose to go hang out with them, that's not the Freemasons or the stonemasons watering down their skills because they're hanging out with you socially or in a social club. Well, first of all, I do not believe in demons. Second of all, I don't believe in summoning anything. Third of all, Freemasonry does not summon demons. So I'm very sorry to disappoint. That's not what Freemasonry is all about. We're going to give it a bit more time, see who else joins. I'm going to finish this stream in about 10 minutes. I just want to hang out for a couple, just see if we've got any more questions or thoughts or people coming on to say hello. I hope you enjoyed my stream thus far. All I sacrifice is time, Locker One. All I sacrifice is time. So, very sorry to disappoint you. Well, Freemasons evolved from stonemasonry. Again, your man. Imagine you're at the bar and you see a group of guys hanging out and talking to. Imagine, take away stonemasons. Imagine you're at the bar and you look over and you see a group of men hanging out and enjoying each other's company. And you go and you talk to them, and it turns out they're carpenters. But every day after work, they get together at this bar and hang out and enjoy each other's company. Now, maybe you're a man Kool-Aid. You don't want to be a carpenter. You don't want to be a carpenter. You don't want to work with wood, but you want to hang out with them and enjoy their company because they seem like cool dudes and you want to make some friends. So you ask if you can join them, and then, every day or every week you get together with them at this bar and you hang out with them and you enjoy each other's company. During the day, they have their job, you have your job. They're carpenters, you're a lawyer, you're whatever you are. But at night, you hang out together, and enjoy each other's company in a social setting. Maybe over time, more people see the group of you hanging out, they want to join. And eventually, you have, a large group of people all getting together at night for a social club, a social gathering. Now, maybe you'll call yourself the Free Carpenters, because the original group of people that hung out together were all carpenters. But during the day, they'll do their job as carpenters, you'll do your jobs. But at night, you'll hang out together for the social aspect and the enjoyment of being with one another. That's not reducing the skills of the carpenters. Nobody was joining the Masonic lodges, respective Masons, to be stonemasons. They were joining it because they wanted the social aspect of it. And then over time, it just grew and grew and grew, right? My hairline is perfectly fine. My forehead is perfectly fine. I'm a very handsome fella, right? So basically, a group of men in the 15th and 16th century noticed that the stonemasons seemed to enjoy each other's company in a social setting as well as a work setting. They saw that they were part of a group, wanted to make friends, and they asked, hey, can I hang out with you guys socially? Not in an employment basis, but socially. After you're done your jobs, can I be part of your lodges, your guilds, go out with you? And it went from there. I do not know what... Well, I'll take it, Locker. Please like and subscribe. I do not know what aluminity is, so I can't respond to that, Doug Dillner. I do not know what that is. Freemasons are equal to a civic or civil organization or community group. That's about it. That's what we are. We occupy the civic and civil space. We are equal to no one in terms of handsomeness because we're the most handsome, but that's another day. Well, they called themselves Freemasons. The stonemasons were already there. They had their profession. They were called stonemasons. When people started hanging out with them socially and forming groups around them in a social setting, they called themselves Freemasons. But again, if you started hanging out with let's say you and 10 of your friends started hanging out with a group of carpenters because you just liked them and you wanted to get to know them better and you enjoyed making friends with them, maybe eventually you'll call your group the Free Carpenters. Not because you're carpenters, but because the original people who were meeting all were carpenters by profession and you wanted to show respect for that. That doesn't mean it's your profession. Stonemasonry is a profession. Freemasonry is a social group, right? So the profession came first. The professionals enjoyed each other's company. Other people saw them enjoying each other's company in a social setting and asked to hang out with them as well. And eventually, Freemasonry grew from that. Um, Locker, you're going to be coming to every stream and you're going to be very disappointed because I'm never going to do a summoning. Summonings don't exist. But thank you for being here nonetheless. All right, let's give this another 3 minutes. That'll be a 2-hour stream. Then I'll be back soon. As always, follow social media, etc., because that's where I'm posting all my stuff. You are welcome, your man, and thank you for your questions. I hope that you enjoyed them. All right, guys, I think we're going to end this stream. Thank you for you joined. Once again, thank you to everybody who helped make my recent trip to Chicago so wonderful. The lodges that welcomed me, the venues that welcomed me as well, the public transit that made it possible for me to not only travel, but for me to travel, as someone with a disability. It was wonderful. Um, so they cannot be considered Freemasons, your man, because Freemasonry is a reference to a social group or a civic group that did not exist until 1717. They could be considered stonemasons because, by definition, anyone who is building something out of stone is a stonemason. That's what the definition of stonemason is, right? So somebody who is building something from stone is a stonemason. A Freemason is the social group that originated around 1634 to 1717, depending on which date you want to pick. Now, if you want to say in the term of like parallel ideas, metaphorically, sure. I mean, we as Freemasons, as a social group, we try to build things metaphorically, not literally, but metaphorically, we build our communities. So it's the social group, not the profession. But I mean, stonemasonry and the creation of things out of stone has been around for millions of years. It's the most important aspect, probably, of human evolution. Um, you do not, I mean, you need usually 2 sponsors, but not at the start. At the start, what you need to do is approach a Masonic lodge and express your interest in joining, right? So you find a Masonic lodge in your area and you express your interest in joining and being part of the craft. And they will get back to you with, they'll talk to you, they get to know you. Once they've got to know you well, what they will do is they will give you an application form and then talk to the lodge about potential sponsors. So eventually you will need 2 sponsors to join, but that's a later point. At the start, what you need to do is just approach the lodge and express your interest in joining. So there you go. Let's give this another couple minutes. So yeah, your man Kool-Aid, just find a Masonic Lodge in your area and go from there. All right, I think I'm going to end this stream now. Thank you everybody for joining. You're going to be seeing a lot more of me coming up. So yeah, keep up to date. Talk to you soon. Bye.